And of course, we're now in the biggest news that we had yesterday from the Debt Management Office, saying the Nigerian government has applied to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to float a diaspora bond. That's what Obianuju Unsoforo is here for from Afrinvest, one of the investment analysts, to talk to us this morning. Thanks for coming through.
Good morning, boss.
This is one good news, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Very, very good.
Well, it is. If it's successful.
If it's successful.
Yeah.
What's your thinking? What do you think? How do you think this fund flotation will be successful? What's the government trying to achieve, really?
Well, it's not news that the federal government of Nigeria is currently pursuing an expansionary policy in order to take the economy on a path of recovery. I mean, look at the 2017 budget that was passed some weeks back by the National Assembly. It assumes for domestic borrowing 1.2 trillion naira. We've seen a lot of activities in that space with the monthly bond auction as well as the savings bond auction. For the external borrowing, also assumes 1.1 trillion naira. As of now, there has been no external borrowing, so this diaspora bond will be the first currency borrowing for the 2017 budget. It assumes the federal government is seeking to borrow $300 million. When you compare that with the 1.1 trillion naira for the external borrowing, when you convert that using the 305 to a dollar exchange rate assumed in the budget, it's about 8.6%, which implies there's still room for more borrowing. So yeah, the idea behind this bond is that Nigerians in diaspora can actually take part in the development of the economy. It's more of like a win-win situation for both parties. You invest in the economy and get some returns, as well as a cheaper source of borrowing for the federal government.
Do you think that the government at the center was keeping an eye on the estimated $20 billion US annual remittances from Nigerians in diaspora, most of which go into, well, whether you're having a birthday party or folks just want to change the roof or change the television or buy a new refrigerator or just change the carpet on the floor?
Well, I think that's a key factor to consider. I mean, looking from 2013, the average on a yearly basis is about $20 billion US. So there's the likelihood of some of those funds going into the this diaspora bond. So that's one factor to look at. But then again, you could look at the Euro bond that was issued this year, which was oversubscribed about 7 times. So you see that this Nigerians in diaspora, they were overcrowded in that area, because they are competing with large foreign investors with huge purchasing capacity. So this is also an opportunity to earn some returns in Nigeria.
Now, if you look at the potentials, who are we targeting outside there?
Well, the idea is Nigerians in the diaspora, but this doesn't have to be solely that. They could also be like a cage whereby other investors could also partake in this bond. So as of now, it's for Nigerians in the diaspora. I mean, they're starting a road show as of Tuesday next week, 13th of June. So they're going to be marketing to the willing investors and potential investors as regards to this.
Well, we don't have the details yet. I haven't seen the offer documents and what have you, but I'm sure this is going to be competitive with the Eurobond that we currently have. The last time I checked via the DMO, some of what we have currently in Eurobond is about 4-point-something, 5-point-something% in terms of yield on them. In terms of pricing, how do you think this should be a bit more competitive? Should the government put some icing on the cake for this diaspora fund?
Well, these diaspora bonds, they're going to be more market determined. They're going to look at bonds, similar bonds in that aspect, in that area, and as well as similar terms to maturities. So this is what they're going to. So these potential investors are going to submit their bids, and with this submission of bids, the federal government can now decide on the interest rates to clear the market.
In terms of what you think we'll be able to raise, give me a figure here. Do you have an idea? You folks have an idea of what, 500 million, a billion, or you think there's so much more money out there?
Well, I think comparing with the last Eurobond sale, it's likely to be successful. I mean, at that point, at time when the federal government went on a road show, we had the issue of the FX crisis, which was like the big elephant in the room, and we're still able to attract that much demand. So given this $300 million US dollars, and looking at the autonomous remittances and the improvements we've recorded over time, there's the likelihood of this bond to be successful.
Very successful.
Yeah.
Give me a figure. What are you looking at?
Putting me on the
I'm
spot.
pushing the button. Yes, I deal with figures. You and I, we deal in figures.
Well, I can't really say, but
Well, you won't be surprised if
yes.
we raise XY.
500 over that.
Over
I mean,
that.
we are comparing that with a 20 billion on the average in a year. So yeah.
Compared to remittances.
Yeah.
So even if we're able to do $1 billion via a diaspora fund, remittances is still far outweigh
I mean, if
the money.
that's less than 2% of the remittances in a year. Yeah.
So you think this is a good time for the government to raise this bond because the FX market is quote unquote working?
Yeah, and the signs are there. I mean, you look at the ARGP, which assumes a target growth of 2.2% this year. In order for us to do that, we need to spend, we need to focus on infrastructure. I mean, look at our stock-to-infrastructure ratio, according to NIIMP, is about 20 to 25%. I mean, that's a far cry from the international benchmark of 70%. And you look at the likes of South Africa, that is doing about 87%. So yeah, it would be nice that this federal government actually ties these proceeds to a particular project so we can see what these funds are going to be used for. I mean, if you look at the ARGP, they gave priority to the Mambila hydro power project. So if that is the project the federal government has come out to fund, it would be nice. Yeah.
It would be nice if these are tied to projects.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate that. It's Friday. We have a lot to do and just take it nice and slow. So it's nice we take it that way today. Don't we? Thank you very much. Obianiju Mustafa, one of the investment analysts at Afrinvest Securities. So okay, let's get the conversation going. Nigeria's junior oil minister, Dr. Ebe Kacheku, has been providing details about the controversy on the streets surrounding the Port Harcourt refinery. He provided a bit of a timelines, which are called milestones of how we get to where we are today with that conversation. And of course, news we already know, but of course, it's always heartbreaking. 5 trillion naira, almost last year, in fuel import. That's more than the total country's budget for 2015. Think about that. We're back in 2.